home now that her children are back home for the holidays. These alterations have also had to include her budget.
There's no chicken. I had to change it because I cannot afford it. Meat, once in a week or twice in a week.
Rose takes us to the market and shares how her shopping routine has changed on account of the tough economic times. She no longer buys in bulk, but instead goes for the lighter and inexpensive items.
If I was buying 5 liters of cooking fat, I buy 1 liter. I buy 1 liter that will take me 2 to 3 days. Then I go back to the shop. I'm living a day. We are living a day at a time.
Okay, nowadays most customers are preferring to buy the basic needs, the home needs for daily basics, but not those like for luxuries. Yeah.
Often she haggles with the sellers trying to get her money's worth, but the traders are also reluctant as they too are feeling the pressure from the squeeze.
Sahi unaambia customer bei nimeenda mara double hata ingine hata unashindwa ukimwekea hivyo naona kama unamfinyiria.
In her kitchen, she lets on the little hacks that have helped her get through the tough times. Her fridge is stocked with cereals that she can reach for when she's out of ideas. A menu stuck on the wall helps her keep to a balanced diet for her family. But though she's making do, she is nostalgic about the better days of yore when she could afford so much more.
I cannot even afford to take them out. I opt to be them with the house. I cook for them. If they want chips, I cook for them. I cannot go buy chicken. I cook for them in the house.
Rose is a business lady who supplies foodstuffs to hospitals and other such enterprises. But her purse has been shrinking as many of her clients are reluctant to take money out of theirs.
Tomatoes have gone high. So even me, ninaumia, I get back to my pocket, or rather I just do without the business.
Food is ready, but fast.
All of the people who are dying, provide for them food and water.
A solemn supplication for better days and easier times ahead. With the high cost of living, it seems that Kenyans will have to dig deeper into their pockets, not just to afford their lifestyle, but even their everyday necessities. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
The delayed rains are also a threat to the country's food security. Farmers in the country's breadbasket areas are staring at a failing crop if the rains do not come.
And the World Meteorological Organization says Kenya isn't the only country with legitimate food concerns due to the poor rains. NTV's Brenda Wanga has more.
Any other year at a time like this, Joseph Wafula would be busy at work weeding his maize and beans plantation. But this isn't a normal year. His crop, about 3 weeks old now, is withering away. The rains have simply refused to fall.
Enyewe tumepanda mahindi lakini jua imesoma. Tena wengine wamepanda mahindi tumemea mbili kwa shamba na kwa eka moja.
His season began mid last month. Alongside other farmers here, he planted his maize crop when the first drops of rain fell in March. Now, they are staring at a failing crop.
Sasa hii mbolea yangu napotea chini na mahindi pia kusakauka, mbolea sijui na choma.
Kupanda mvua ikapotea karibu wiki moja mbili hivi, kurudi tena nikarudisha tena, ndio hiyo ikaenda.
Kuna mvua ilinyesha ya kwanza, hiyo nilipanda mahindi hii kumea hata moja. Paka saa hii ninashindwa na angalau nimelipa mbolea na nilikuwa nimechukua kwa loan.
Their sentiments find grounding in the weatherman's prediction for this rainy season. The Kenya Meteorological Department says the rains will be near normal or depressed across the country. And the World Meteorological Organization echoes the same, raising alarm bells of an impending threat to food security in the country and the region.
The amount of rainfall ile tunaona pengine itapunguka. Hiyo ni kumaanisha kwamba wakulima waweze kujikaza na pia waweze kutumia mbinu za kisasa ili waweze kusalisha chakula. Hiyo ni kusema kupanda pengine mahindi ile ambayo ama mbegu ile ama mimea ile inakomaa haraka, early maturing varieties.
The farmers are still hopeful that the rains will come, but the area of concern now shifts to how to finance a second planting season when they have all but exhausted their finances already.
Hii mvua ikinyesha nitachikakamua tena na nitalima chakula yangu kama kawaida.
The farmers will be keenly waiting to see what interventions the Ministry of Agriculture will make to help steady the country's main food lifeline. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
The president, in his State of the Nation address, extolled Kenya's remarkable economic growth, which he says grew by 6.1% last year.
While Kenyans would be expected to be reaping the benefits of this growth, the sentiment on the ground is starkly different.
If the government's estimates are anything to go by, last year Kenya's economy grew by the fastest pace since the enviable 7% growth reported in 2007. Whereas this is widely expected to yield benefits for all citizens, many decry that the reported growth is far from inclusive.
Hii economy saa hii imekuwa mbaya sana. Mbaya sana. Hata mtu tunadururu, unaona venye tunahangaishwa, hata biashara hakuna. Juzi tumepomolewa hapa, hatuna hata ndururu.
Economic growth to me means that increased job opportunities for young people in Kenya. That means a reduction of the unemployment rate in Kenya. Number two is increased business opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises.
Economy ya Kenya watu wasitudanganya ati imepanda. Economy ya Kenya saizi niko mbaya zaidi. Kama saizi sasa ukienda supermarket hapo uende ukaulize bei ya unga. Unga saizi imepanda juu. Hatujui kwa nini inapanda juu na tunaambiwa chakula iko mingi.
Economists argue that the economy's failure to create sufficient job opportunities is a key challenge in ensuring households and businesses feel the impact of the reported economic growth. It is also argued that inadequate exposure of ordinary citizens to high-growth sectors such as real estate is a stumbling block to trickling down the benefits to the ordinary mwananchi.
Certain sectors have become, not all Kenyans can benefit from that sector because they do not have exposure to that sector. One of those sectors is like the real estate sector, where people who have invested in that sector have seen an increase in their incomes. We also have the manufacturing sector, although growth there has been relatively low.
Breaking the mold from economic growth to inclusive economic growth is a key factor in formulation of national policy. As the country looks forward to the 6% growth the government projects for 2019, many are left to wonder just how the common man will feel its impact.
These are lean times for many who just scrape by despite the picture of a growing economy.
We sought views from around the country on the current economic situation, and they say this economic growth is yet to translate to more money in their pockets.
Unapata kufika jioni ndio umetengeneza hata shilingi 400 na 500 na pikipiki sangine unalipia pikipiki. Mwenye pikipiki anataka 300. Wewe mwenyewe uko na familia, bibi, watoto wanaenda shule, nyumba yenyewe ya kulipa, unapata umekuwa tight.
Gharama irudi chini, hata kama wanaiba tutawaibe tu kiwango yao, lakini upande wa maisha ikuje tu vizuri.
1000 shillings inakaa kama 100. Tunanunua chakula mtaani, Yeah, we can't afford being in the supermarket.
Masiwa tulikuwa tunanuanga na 40-50 shillings. For now we can get a liter at 80 shillings. And that one is also very scarce.
Hata nyumba expensive, we cannot manage. Most people are just searching for the cheapest renting houses.
Either wasiongezewe kama ni mishahara, wasionyoko kwa payroll ama wages, anyone, kwa sababu the moment msewa chini hana do. What do you expect? No wonder kuna wasi wengi mayouth wanaingia kwa crime.
Kama ni wakulima wa mahindi, saa hizi fertilizer wananunua ama mbolea wananunua kwa bei ghali sana. Saa zenye imefika ni wakati wao wa mavuno, mahindi zao wananunuliwa kwa bei ya duni sana, ambayo haiwezi kukidhi mahitaji ya huyo mkulima.
Tuliambiwa maskuli kwamba watoto wanasoma bure. Tumerundika huko watoto, lakini wametuambia kuna basari inalipwa na serikali. Mpaka sasa hatujaona.
Tangu kitu ilikuja inaitwa sijui handshake, sijui handshake, hiyo kitu ndio imetuharibu kabisa.
The rising cost of living comes at a time when the Jubilee government is looking for avenues to address revenue gaps through raising taxes, with many Kenyans resulting to cut on costs and others being forced to take up loans to keep up. Helen Aura, NTV.
Add your voice to the conversation, and that informs our opinion count question tonight. Do you feel the impact of the economic growth as glorified by the government and President in his State of the Nation address last week? Do you feel the impact of the economic growth as glorified by government and the President in his State of the Nation address last week?
You can tweet us at NTV Kenya, at Dennis Okari, and at Burrows, and we will sample some of your views in this bulletin. We move on now to another sad story. Police have arrested a 28-year-old suspect accused of murdering a 6th-year medicine student at the Moi University in Eldoret.
Ivy Wangeshi was hacked to death right outside the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. Police say the suspect, identified as Naftali Njahi Kinuthia, is helping them with investigations into the chilling morning murder.
Lois Wangoi tells us more.
Ivy Wangeshi, a 6th-year medicine student at the Moi University, had just finished her ward rounds at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret and was walking back to the student hostel along Nandi Road when she was attacked. The crime was incredibly vicious. She was struck on her head with an axe. The attacker then slit her throat and left her to bleed on this pavement.
Venye msichana alianguka, unajua alikuwa amekata hapa kwa jugular. Because this is the jugular. Pali hata riko. Saa damu ina pump sana. Sasa watu nao wamekuja. Kukuja naye akatoa shoka na akawatishia. Obvious hata kwa ni mwanaume wezi wana shoka alafu umesimama. Pia utataka kwenda, pengine shoka ikikupata pia utaumia.
The attacker was also swinging his axe at the surging crowd that was milling around the scene before delivering a final blow to Ivy's head and tried to flee. But he was stopped by members of the public who were baying for his blood.
Useme alimninia hadi ngozi ya kichwa sababu venye ambulance ilikuja hivi kutoka hapa MTRH ilimchukua kama hii nini ya kichwa, ngozi ya kichwa imetokana, hii nywele ilikuwa imetokana.
Police, however, rescued him from the enraged mob and took him into custody. Police say the suspect, identified as Naftali Njahi Kinuthia, is helping with investigations into the murder. Witnesses say he concealed the weapons in a gunny bag when he gained entry into the hospital. The incident unsettled the Moi University's students who took to the street to protest her killing and demand that the institution enhances their safety.
I say, please start with yourself. Let's manage relationships because that's where the big problem currently is.
Wakati mwingine kama mzazi unaweza kuwa unafeel uchungu sana. Kwa sababu umetuma mtoto wako haje shuleni akasome. Aweze kupata elimu. Lakini baadaye unakuja kupata kuna jambo limefanyika kama hili.
Police are investigating why Ivy's life was taken in the most ghastly way, even though there are whispers it could have been a case of love gone sour.
The man who hacked the young lady to death continues to recuperate at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospitals, even as authorities continue to look into the matter while asking anyone with any relevant information to volunteer to the authorities. The motive of that particular killing remains unknown. Lois Wangoi, NTV, Eldoret.
Now for the latest on another gruesome murder. Police in Longiani in Kericho County are holding 2 suspects accused of the murder of a couple and their 5-year-old child in Melit village last Sunday.
Kericho County Commander James Mugara says one other key suspect is still on the run, and the main culprit, who police say is a tailor, is being interrogated after he was found in possession of passports, mobile phones, cash in US dollars, among other documents belonging to the slain family.
Police say the suspects are part of a gang that has been terrorizing the residents of Kericho. The couple and their child were murdered at their home. There has been a rise in such cases, raising concern in the county and beyond.
I ask the public to be a bit patient because the arrests we have made so far are just a small fraction of the ongoing investigations. We want to go deeper and find out what the motive of that murder and other previous murders has been and who are the key planners of this.
Anashona nguo kwake na watu wa nyuma kumi wanasema wanamjua. Sasa hivi tukifanya makosa risafu, watu wa nyuma kumi wanajua tunafanya makosa. Watu wakiiba kuku, mayai wanajua. Na huyu jamaa aje ajulikane namna gani na ni mhalifu.
Ni customer yangu ya M-Pesa. Akikuja kutoa pesa anasema
mtu mwingine aniwekee line yangu ndio nimtolee.
The National Police Service says it's still too early to explain how 3 fake police officers managed to set up a roadblock, stop motorists and collect bribes in Machakos before they were killed in a shootout with DCI detectives yesterday.
Police are still pursuing 2 other fake police officers who fled the scene after the confrontation. NTV's Mel Miendo reports.
Police are still investigating how 3 men dressed as traffic police officers operated in Mwala, Machakos County, undetected. The trio was among 5 suspects who had kidnapped and handcuffed a motorist in Mikuyuni in Machakos and bundled him in their car's boot before speeding off. Police say the suspects were masquerading as traffic police officers. It's not yet clear how long they had operated on the Machakos-Masi road. A manhunt has been launched for the 2 who escaped in civilian clothes, but this incident has raised several questions on fake police syndicates in the country. Complaints from previous victims of the fake police officers is what flagged up the issue before the DCI detectives stepped in, and in an exchange of fire, the 3 fake officers were killed. As investigators probe how they got a pistol, walkie-talkie and ammunition, security experts say this is not new. NTV spoke to Simiu Werunga, a former member of the National Police Service Commission, who says, and I quote, there must be some collusion where someone in uniform is involved, end of quote. He says, and I quote, every area in this country is covered by a police station. How can these men be on the road without the police being aware, end of quote. Joshua Waiganjo grabbed the headlines in a case of police impersonation and abuse of office, and reports from his ongoing case allege that he was being protected by 2 former senior police officers, Remy Ngugi, former anti-stock theft unit boss, and John Bijiwe, former Rift Valley PPO. The trial of Mr. Joshua Waiganjo has taken many twists and turns over the years, even as police officers who interacted with him in Joro in Nakuru County say he was intimidating and terrorized them. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has since sought to reopen the Waiganjo case, who was charged in 2012 but released on bond in 2017. DPP Nurdin Haji revisited the case in March 2019, noting that no exhibits identified were produced in court and not all witnesses had testified. The case is now at the High Court in Nakuru, where a hearing date has been scheduled for the 13th of June 2019 for all parties to argue. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Tonight we highlight how conmen trading in fake gold and operating in Nairobi are scamming unsuspecting buyers for millions of shillings.
Dozens of local and foreign suspects have been charged in various courts over fraudulent transactions amounting to close to $500 million shillings as police try to unravel the cartels, which are said to be strategically placed in Kenya's capital.
NTV's Seth Olale exposes some of the dirty deals that have lured many victims into the grip of the scammers.
Ukrainian national Kavalenko Hennedy, the latest victim of a gold scam, lost 100 million shillings. He met the scammers in Nairobi. Consolata Achieng, Washington Libese, and Enoch Mugwana were arraigned in court and are being accused of obtaining the money by false pretense. The police service says the number of complaints on gold scams is increasing.
Of late, you've seen this business called wash. It happens in gold and it happens in fake money. Many persons who want to earn money quickly are easily lured into these deals.
An advocate of the High Court and 4 others were recently arraigned in court and charged with obtaining 23 million shillings by false pretenses in exchange for gold. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations also recovered fake gold that was hidden in a house in Kwihotha, Ruiru, Kiambu County, following a raid on February 27, 2019. On March 18, 2019, Detectives led by DCI Director George Kinoti, acting on a tip-off, discovered 2 billion shillings of counterfeit dollars and fake gold bars at Barclays Bank's Queensway branch in Nairobi. This is just an indication of how advanced the con game in the illegal gold trade has become rampant in the country.
When you are lured into gold business, then you are going to be washed and you are going to lose a lot of money. So maybe this is a new trend where if somebody would manage to deposit a safe in the bank, and then he tells you, I have this money in dollars, and truly, maybe he lures you and you get with him into the bank and you see the bank manager removing the safe and giving him. Who are you to doubt?
Smart fraudsters convince unsuspecting buyers that they can link them to large gold stocks from the Democratic Republic of Congo at cheap prices. For instance, the cost of 1 kilogram of gold in the global market currently retails at about 4.2 million shillings. However, gold scammers in Nairobi convince buyers that they can get gold from DRC for between 2 and 2.5 million shillings.
When you see a trend where they are caught, it means that there is nobody to be bought. Maybe they were there and maybe there was somebody to be bought at one particular time. But you may find that either they have lost their contact, maybe they had protection and contacts from other quarters, and maybe that syndicate has been broken. Those are scenarios that are very possible because they deal with huge money.
So powerful are the cartels trading in fake gold that in March 2017, DRC President Joseph Kabila flew to Nairobi for emergency talks with then President Mwai Kibaki over huge consignments of gold stolen and smuggled into Kenya by a cartel. In some cases, the complainants have failed to defend their cases in court and be compensated by the suspects who are normally released on cash bails pending the determination of the case. Seth Olale, NTV.
Why not? Yes, let him.
We are still inside the fraudsters' paradise, and Barclays Bank Queensway branch is in the news again. This time not because of its safety boxes, but a scam executed there to rip off an investor.
In the Daily Nation tomorrow, read about the man who tried to sell 3 kilograms of gold, which he did not have, and why more and more people are being duped by these fake gold scammers.
From that story on fake gold rush, we rush into a break. We'll be coming back after this break.
Thank you for staying with NTV tonight. Now to news from the courts. Neno Evangelism televangelist James Nganga has been charged with defrauding a businessman of 3.6 million shillings at his church office 3 years ago.
Nganga was arraigned before Milimani Law Court Senior Principal Magistrate Martha Mutuku after losing his bid to stop his prosecution at the High Court. He denied obtaining 3.6 million shillings from businessman Wixon Joroge Mwathe, pretending he would lease to him a residential property in Karen.
A cash bail of 500,000 shillings. The court has set a pre-trial conference for the 24th of April ahead of the hearing on the 16th of May.
Elsewhere, Migori Governor Okoth Obado can now move freely with Homa Bay County after the High Court reviewed the terms of his bond and lifted the travel restrictions issued against him.
High Court Judge Jesse Lasit has allowed the governor to travel within Homa Bay after he was freed on bail for the murder of Rongo University student Sharon Otieno. He had been denied entry into the county since most of the witnesses reside there.
And finally, Muslim students at the Visa Oshul Academy in Parklands will go on with their afternoon prayers in school pending the determination of their case. This follows a petition filed by the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM, and a parent protesting new school policies that restricted the children from conducting Muslim prayers within the school compound.
The parents claim that in May last year, the school stopped the students from praying within the school compound and had even stationed some teachers in classrooms to ensure the directive was complied with. Deputy President William Ruto has finally registered for the Huduma Number, calling on Kenyans, especially those from his backyard, to come out and register.
This comes at a time when low turnout has been reported in most parts of the country since the exercise started a week ago.
The Deputy President's registration for the Huduma Number is expected to fire up his Rift Valley base and have them register en masse. The Deputy President was accompanied by his family in Lang'ata.
Kama chief hustler wetu sasa sisi tutafuata laini kabisa, si kweli? Tutahakikisha kuwa najua watu wengi hapa hawajaregister. So najua watu wengi hapa hawako wameregister kwa sababu ilikuwa bado hajajulikana sana, si kweli?
The DP's backyard has been lackluster, especially after his absence on the day the exercise was being launched nationwide. On April 2nd, President Uhuru Kenyatta led a host of political leaders and government officials to officially open registration. It has been 1 week since, and the numbers have not been so inviting.
Kila mwananchi wa Kenya mahali alipo ajue ya kwamba ni muhimu kujiandikisha kwa sababu itarahisisha maisha yako wewe kama mwananchi na itarahisisha kazi ya serikali kukuhudumia wewe kwa njia ile ingine yote. Huduma zote za serikali.
President Kenyatta, in his State of the Nation address, still stressed on the importance of registering for the number as opposition leaders continue to sing its praises.
Daktari William Ruto ameregister leo. So sisi tulikuwa tunaongojea yeye kwa sababu tulikuwa tunasema nini imetokea kwa sababu yeye hakuwa ameregister.
Kennedy Muredhi, NTV.
The ODM party has withdrawn from the Wajir West parliamentary by-election just 3 weeks to the vote.
The party says it withdrew to reciprocate the gesture extended to it by Jubilee Party in the Migori Embakasi South and Ugenya by-elections.
But as NTV's Silas Apollo reports, the decision may have been informed by whispers of the impending defection of the party's candidate to the Jubilee coalition.
In a press statement sent to newsrooms, ODM Director of Election Junet Mohammed said the party had opted out of the Wajir West by-election in the spirit of the handshake. Mohammed says they will not field a candidate in the upcoming vote, but will instead allow the ruling Jubilee coalition to take the seat as a sign of good faith. This decision, says Mohammed, is informed by the kind gesture the Jubilee Party extended to it when the party opted out of the Migori, Embakasi South and Ugenya by-elections. But as it turns out, the announcement by ODM to sit this one out may have been a preemptive strike to counter a possible plan by their candidate in the by-election, Mohammed Yusuf, to defect to Jubilee Party. Sources told NTV that the decision by the party was to avoid a possible embarrassment that would complicate matters owing to its loss both in Embakasi and Ugenya. Yusuf, who withdrew from the race today, said he will rally behind the Jubilee Party. The Jubilee Party flag will be flown by Mohamed Kolosh, who met President Uhuru Kenyatta in State House last week, alongside National Assembly Leader of Majority, Aden Duale. Yusuf said his decision was arrived at following the intervention of the Digo-Dia clan over fears that his candidature would create divisions in the community. Yusuf, who spoke after meeting Deputy President William Ruto at his current residence in Nairobi today, said his decision to quit the race had nothing to do with ODM.
Mimi vile wazee wamekueleza nimekupatia kiti. I was actually the member of parliament for Wajir West. Na hii kiti tumekupatia kwa sababu ya wazee in the leadership of the
DP Ruto, on the other hand, said the withdrawal of Yusuf will help embolden the party in the by-election.
Waswahili wanasema dalili ya mvua ni mawingu. Nimeanza kuona mawingu sasa kwamba hii Wajir West ambayo miaka nenda miaka rudi imekuwa kiti ya watu wa upinzani, safari hii itakuwa kiti ya serikali.
Leaders present at the meeting were Wajir Governor Mohamed Abdi Mohamud and a host of MPs from Northeastern. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Nearly 2,000 livestock and wildlife at the Lake Nakuru National Park have been vaccinated against anthrax following the death of 2 cows in Elbagon, Nakuru County.
The mass vaccination comes even as about 14 buffaloes at the Lake Nakuru National Park died of the disease. The Department of Veterinary Services in Nakuru says it has also quarantined all the livestock in the affected Elbagon area, with the public being cautioned against touching the carcasses of dead livestock and eating uninspected meat.
The vaccination campaign continues on Thursday, targeting livestock in Joro area.
Na tunaambia watu waendelee kukunywa maziwa kwa sababu sasa tumechanja ng'ombe na lakini wasikule nyama for the next 7 days kwa sababu ya chanjo ile tumechanja siku ya leo.
Business on the other side of this break with Julian's Ambuko.
Amboko, and we stay with the theme of growth. Now, the World Bank projects that Kenya's economy will grow by 5.7% in 2019, a slight reduction from the 5.8% it says was achieved last year. This is also lower than the 6.3% projection given by President Uhuru Kenyatta during the State of the Nation address last week. During the release of the latest edition of Kenya's economic update, the slowdown in lending to the private sector came into sharp focus, emerging as a key source of concern. Alex Mwangi with the details.
The projected 5.7% economic growth this year may be termed as impressive when compared to global growth levels or the average for sub-Saharan Africa. It, however, ought to be put into perspective.
This is below the target that we had hoped to grow as an economy, particularly given the guidance that we are given by the Aviation 2030. We also see a slowdown in credit to the private sector, and we also have heard that several companies have been giving profit warnings. So basically, this sends a signal that the demand side of the economy is weak and it's not creating the jobs that we would expect to have in the event of a strong growth.
What is happening today? A lot of industries are not operating, they're closing down. The truth be told, the banks are making lots of money. There is no credit going out to any farmer, any agriculture business, nor to manufacturing. Credit is missing. If tonight the interest rate cap was gone, all the bankers sitting in the room here, would you start lending?
That small and medium enterprises are considered as the holy grail of Kenya's economy when it comes to contributing to economic growth and creating employment has been well enumerated at various forums. It turns out, however, that business entities are not having a pleasant time engaging with government.
Data shows that pending bills have been increasing from about 0.9% of GDP in FY 15-16 to about 1.6% in FY 17-18. So in terms of policy, improving promptness of payment to vendors that trade with government could help resuscitate private sector activities.
The contribution of private investment to GDP growth dipped from 2.7 percentage points in 2017 to 0.7 percentage points in 2018. Analysts portend that the government ought to urgently address the crowding out effect of private enterprises if it is to promote economic activity that will stimulate growth and create employment. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Now, moving elsewhere, the government is exploring other alternatives of consolidating the national carrier and the Kenya Airports Authority following strong opposition to the proposed merger plans. Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia has today said that the government is set to come up with an alternative which will consolidate the country's aviation assets. This even as Kenya Airways management admits that the earlier purchase of Boeing 777 was a mistake and subleasing its planes is digging it deeper into debt. Lillian Carrier with more on that story. That story will come back to you a little later. And staying on with the bulletin, efforts to decongest East Africa's largest city of Nairobi have received a fresh boost with the commencement of construction of the Western Bypass in order to divert traffic from the city center. Victor Kiprop attended the launch of the project and now highlights some of the series of the projects the government is banking on to decongest the capital and open up the country. And just to circle back to the story we were targeting a little earlier, that we were focusing on matters of the government, and the government is exploring other alternatives of consolidating the national carrier and the Kenya Airports Authority, following strong opposition of the proposed merger between the two entities that was tabled a little late last year. Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia has today said the government is set to come up with an alternative which will consolidate the country's aviation assets, even as it looks to strengthen the aviation sector. This even as Kenya Airways management admits that the earlier purchase of the Boeing 777 was a mistake and subleasing its planes is digging it deeper into debt. Lillian Carrier with more on that story.
The proposal by Kenya Airways to operate, maintain and develop Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has ruffled the feathers of many. This has been particularly so as KQ has been a loss-making entity in the last decade. Appearing before the Transport Committee today, Transport Cabinet Secretary says that the government is reconsidering this decision following the concerns raised by the public and will submit an agreed option to Cabinet. Members of Parliament today had a field day poking holes onto Kenya Airways management, questioning what led to its dwindling fortune. This leading to an admission by KQ CEO Sebastian Mikosz.
We did a mistake with the 777s, which are costing us lots of troubles and money today. And I'm doing everything I can to get rid of those aircrafts because we are losing every month almost $2 million a month.
The CEO was cornered to respond to the high ticket prices of the national airline in comparison to other regional airlines.
So my job is to sell the tickets as expensive as I can and not as cheap as I can.
With accusations rife on KQ's ballooning wage bill, the committee pushed KQ's management to come forth with the correct position on their salaries.
I'm making €350,000 a year plus allowances. So I'm sorry, let me just calculate it. But it represents around 4 million shilling a month.
Sebastian said that a captain at KQ earns a gross average of 1.6 million shillings, first officers a gross average of 900,000 shillings, flight operators 225,000 shillings, while other technical and ground service operators take home an average of 150,000 shillings.
My salary is 1.25 million a month per gross before taxes.
The government says that the Kenya aviation industry has been losing its market share compared to other regional competitors such as the Ethiopian Airlines, which has been receiving a lot of support from its government. The Kenya Airways says that if this proposal does not go through, it will mean that Kenya Airways will continue performing, albeit at a slower pace. Lillian Kiaria, NTV.
Quite some headwinds there, quite literally, for the national carrier. And staying with matters transport, efforts to decongest East Africa's largest city of Nairobi have received a fresh boost with the commencement of the construction of the Western Bypass in order to divert traffic from the city centre. Victor Kiprop attended the launch of the project and highlights how the series of projects the government is banking on to decongest the capital city and open the country.
After more than 3 years of waiting, construction of the 16.8 kilometers road connecting the southern bypass at Gitaru to the northern bypass at Ruaka has begun.
According to the World Bank, Kenya loses at least 50 million shillings in lost productivity to traffic jams every day. But upon completion, this 17 billion shillings western bypass will provide a missing link to a system of ring roads aimed at diverting traffic away from the central business district.
People wanting to come into the city, coming from the west, Rift Valley, coming from the north, coming from the south or east, they do not have to go to the city, through the city of Nairobi if they don't have to.
The road, which is being developed by Beijing-based China Road and Bridge Corporation CRBC, will feature 7 interchanges, 11 traffic bridges and pedestrian underpasses, and 25 kilometers of service lane. Other roads currently being developed or recently completed include the construction of an expressway linking the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Westlands, dueling of the Nairobi-Nakuru-Mau Summit Road, and the 507 kilometers Great North Road between Isiolo and Moyale through the Kaisuit Desert.
From Nairobi, Nakuru to Mau Summit. It's a huge route. It will be duoed also with a lot of side service lanes, with a lot of interchanges. It's an investment which the private sector will be putting their money. So we shall not be putting a single shilling until now when they complete, they'll start now, charging a fee to recover their investment.
According to the Kenya Roads Board, Kenya has about 226,000 kilometers of road, 57% of the roads classified either as good or fair, up from 44% in 2009, but only 6% of the roads are tarmacked. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
Now, Britam asset managers have supported the government's action of putting in place structures for a sovereign wealth fund, saying it would yield several benefits for the country. Britam has, however, pointed out that local policymakers would have to guard against potential over-reliance on revenues from natural resources in future budgets. This, they say, would result in short-term shocks in the event of depressed commodity markets. A sovereign wealth fund is a state-run fund usually created using the profits from natural resources such as oil, gas or minerals, or from a country's budget surplus.
By the year 2022, it's estimated that Kenya will be exporting 80,000 barrels of oil per day, and this translates to about 30 million barrels per year. The estimated revenue from these 30 million barrels per year will be Kenya shillings 150 billion. So to start with, this is what we have already found. In terms of the currently discovered oil reserves, Kenya has about 1.2 billion barrels. And although in terms of the worldwide reserves, it doesn't make such a big fraction, as I said, we are still exploring for more oil and more gas reserves.
Let's talk about matters employment creation. And the county of Bungoma is set to create 10,000 jobs in Webuye if an industrial park is built. Addressing members of the county assembly, Governor Wycliffe Wangamati said that Webuye was the perfect place to develop an industrial park as it is close in proximity to a highway that opens into the eastern and African countries. The county is to provide 102 acres of land to investors, as well as provide infrastructure, water, and other shared services.
We will make decisions that benefit not the few, but the majority. An industrial park inaweza guza mtu, inaweza guza watu 10, watu 100, but the beneficiary of that industrial park will be in excess of 10,000 people. So let's not be afraid or make those difficult decisions that we have to make.
And that's it for the Business Bulletin tonight. I leave you with the financial report.
TV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Welcome back. Let's paint a picture. There is a bad road, a very bad road, which is barely passable. But you and many others need to frequently use this road as it is the most convenient. We report your frustrations to the relevant authorities, but all you get are promises that never materialize on the ground. Your alternative route becomes out of bounds. What do?
In Moranga, Nicholas Mushami took his simple farm tools and began digging a 1.5-kilometer road. NTV's Martin Mora caught up with the now village hero who explains why he took the government's work into his own hands.
Preparations are on. It's time to get down to work. Armed with a hoe or fork jembe, a spade, an axe and a jerrycan of water, Nicholas Mushami is ready for what could easily come across as farm work. On the way, the man from Kaganda's village in Moranga County's Kiharu constituency stops a number of times, greeting people who congratulate him for a good job. 45-year-old Mushami, a casual laborer, has for the past week endured the scorching sun and sacrificed his sleep to save the community from the frustrations of the bad, impassable road.
Vile watu wanazunguka hapa, hata mimi vile mimi nazunguka, nikaona tu ni heri nianze hiyo kazi juu hata hatukuwa na uwezo ingine juu hata waheshimiwa hapa tulikuwa nawaambia hachukui jukumu ya kutengenezea hiyo barabara.
The villagers have been using an alternative route, a shortcut, which passes through private land. The owner of the land has demanded that the locals get another route, warning of unspecified actions if they continue trespassing. This pushed Mushami to sort out what the government has failed to fix. He is not done, but the road, which is far from ideal, is now a bit passable.
Ikiwa namna hii bado tu mvua ikinyesha, tafikiria tu itaweza kuje tu alibike tena.
Mushami has become an instant celebrity in this village for his selfless effort to open up this road. This is a clear example of what a man can do for the government and not what a government can do for the man.
Tukiwa na uwezo mtatengeneza, na ndio hata serikali ikiona mko na upendo wa kutengeneza ya kazi, hata chukua jukumu ya kututengenezea hapo, yani kutumalizia.
Tulikuwa tunazunguka level sana kwenda Kaganda Shopping Center. Sasa vile alichumbua, kwanza tutamshukuru, lakini tutaomba tu serikali tutengenezee mali tu amebakisha.
Martin Mora, NTV, Moranga County.
That man is indeed a hero. And Olive, did you know?
Quite industrious.
Very. And still in Moranga County last year, remember there's a story of a gentleman, and I think Dan Mwangi did that story, business, where there's a man who actually connected an entire village with electricity, built his own power plant from scratch, still in Moranga. Looks like people are very gifted, talented, and because of the burdens they're facing, they're using their own hands to just try and improve the quality of the lives around them. That's something so incredible.
And laudable. And on that note, we make way for Waro the Kiro, who will be bringing us the sports news.
It is time to play. Welcome to NTV Sport. I am Warothe Kiru. Nairobi-based schools had an impressive start at the Term 1 Kenya Secondary School Games, registering positive results in basketball and rugby. This as Nakuru's Kirandich girls made their voices heard with an emphatic opening day win. In handball, Ida Waringa is in Mombasa for the National Games and she filed this report.
On Games in association with Brookside Dairy.
The Brookside National Secondary School Term 1 Games started in earnest, with Shimoletewa and Shanzu Teachers Training College the venues for Day 1 events. Laser Hill Academy got their boys' basketball title defense off to a winning start, cruising to an 82-32 win over Aga Khan Mombasa in their Pool A encounter.
We came here to win the championship.
In other boys' basketball results, Alliance boys made light work of Mandera-based Darul Hikma, beating them 77-17. 2013 East Africa School Games Rugby 15 silver medalist Kangaroo High dismissed Galana 34-0, while Maseno beat Kwale 14-0 and Dagoretti beat Alliance 13-5. For the first time in the game's history, both 7s and 15s rugby have been included in the same term games, with stakeholders voicing concerns.
Even here, we don't have a team that has brought two teams. It is a challenge because the boys meant to have more skills when it came to second term.
Kirandich girls were the big winners of the day in handball, demolishing Northeastern 57-1 in their pool game. In other results, Sega girls beat Kahuho 36-4 and Mangu boys edged Sanyak 2018. Meanwhile, Friends School Kamusenga beat St. Charles Luanga 1-0 in their Pool A hockey match. Preliminary group games continue on Wednesday, even as the Nationals mourn the passing of Mohiri Moshiri Form 4 student Daniel Mokua, who died after drowning at Mtwapa Creek while swimming. He was to represent his school in Rugby Sevens. The Kenya Secondary School Sports Association had an impressive 2018 on its way to scooping the best federation at the Soya Sports Personality Awards. And with the games just beginning, interested stakeholders will be waiting to see what 2019 has in store. For NTV, I'm Ida Warenga in Shanzu, Mombasa.
Brookside and Strathmore University are calling out on young talented students for an opportunity to win a university scholarship. Participate in the Brookside Term 1 Games at Shimolatewa and Shanzu College in Mombasa and get scouted. Score an A- or above in KCSE, get shortlisted for a book camp in January and get a chance to win a degree scholarship and play for the university team. Brookside Dairy, nurturing sports talents and academics.
And the National Cross Country champion Amos Kirui has been named the Star Times Sports Journalists Association of Kenya SJAC Sports Personality of the month of February. Kirui was rewarded for his exploits in the National Cross Country Trials, where he defeated former World Cross Country champion Geoffrey Kamworor. Kirui clocked 29 minutes 51 seconds to lead emerging athletes Evans Kitani and Roger Zokwemoi in scooping the podium places. The steeplechase specialist beat Ivory Coast Rally winner Manvir Bayan and World Cross-Country champion Helen Obiri to the award. Kirui took home a personalized trophy, a 42-inch Star Times digital TV and 100,000 shillings.
Tukakimbia kweli vizuri. Sikuwa natarajia nitawin hiyo cross country. Ukaenda camp kidogo, program ikachange kidogo na pia environment ikachange kidogo. Sasa ukaenda Denmark, tukafanya vizuri, haikuwa mbaya na haikuwa mzuri sana, lakini tulifurahia tu vile tulifanya. But we also learned through mistakes.
Still in athletics, and former world half marathon bronze medalist Sally Chipiego will be looking to a podium place in the Paris Marathon race on Sunday, and she's optimistic of a good result. She'll be competing against her fellow Kenyans Betty Lempas and Pascalia Kipkoech. To prepare for the Paris race, she participated in this year's Barcelona half marathon in February, where she emerged third. The 34-year-old broke into the limelight into the round one when she won the World Youth Championships 3,000 meters race. She later changed to long-distance races, where she participated in various competitions before shifting base to Japan Japan in 2006. Chepego debuted in the Tokyo Marathon in 2015, where she came in 4th in a personal best time of 2 hours, 26 minutes and 43 seconds.
Vile nimekuja hapa nina train kama teamwork. Na kulingana na mazoezi ambayo nimefanya kwa nikijitayarisha katika hiyo mbio, ninaiamini sana kwa sababu nimejitayarisha kutosha. Na niko na matumaini kwenda kufanya yale ambayo yanafaa kufanywa huko.
On to volleyball, but not how you know it. The second edition of the East Africa Traditional Volleyball Tournament will serve off in Mombasa during the Easter holidays. The Maimon Sports Club, in conjunction with the Mombasa County's Department of Youth, Gender and Sports, is organizing the regional event that has attracted 32 teams from the East Africa region. Traditional volleyball has its roots in East Africa, India and Pakistan, and it varies from indoor gymnasium and outdoor play as well as street volleyball for recreation.
Why am I saying this is special? Because you are talking about a traditional sport. And when you look around, you realize that these days, this has gone. We don't appreciate our culture.
FC Leopards' good run in the Kenyan Premier League will come under threat when they face Kakamega Homeboys in Machakos on Wednesday afternoon. Under coach Andre Kasambungo, Ingwe has lost only once in 7 matches, and from being relegated, been threatened with relegation. AFC now lie 10th on the log. Ingwe will, however, have to be wary of the sensational form of former AFC Leopard striker Alan Wanga, who is currently the league's top scorer with 11 goals. In other matches on Wednesday, Sofapaka host Ulinzi Stars in the 2 p.m. kickoff in Machakos. Chemelil Sugar clashes with Posta Rangers at Chemelil at 3 p.m. and Mathare United take on Sony Sugar at 3 p.m. at the Kasarani Stadium. And finally, an amateur football player in northern Iraq enjoys the attention of a celebrity thanks to his uncanny resemblance to Portugal captain Cristiano Ronaldo. 25-year-old Biwa Abdullahi earns his living working on a construction site. He had to give up his full-time education at the age of 7 because of economic hardships faced by his family. However, he's a popular figure in the area owing to his resemblance to Ronaldo, and he often has to stop to pose for selfies with people in the streets. And that's why we wrap it up on sports this evening. And remember, there's a lot of Champions League action that's just kicked off 7 minutes in. We'll be bringing you updates of that in our bulletins tomorrow. But for now, back to Olive and Dennis.
Thank you, Warode. Earlier we asked you, have you felt the impact of the purported economic growth? Well, we have Hilary Cheriot, who says not even an iota of it. I heard about economic growth during the State of the Nation address by the President, but maybe it's only felt in State House. Wenyenye Oliver is of a different mind. He says, yes, the Kenya shilling is doing very well against the dollar, and Joseph Karanja agrees with him. He says, yes, the economy is growing at a very high rate.
Well, thank you very much for your comments and your views. That's all the time we had for you in this news broadcast. My name is Dennis Okari.
I'm Olive Burrows, but don't go anywhere. Coming up is Sidebar.